All right, Anne Burrows, DTM3, will be giving her speech from the Visionary Communication Path Level 3 project, Connect with Your Audience. This project focuses on different audience types and how to address them effectively. The purpose of this project is to practice the skills needed to connect with an unfamiliar audience. Develop a speech on a topic that is unfamiliar to the majority of your audience. Because you deliver this speech in the Toastmasters Club, you're familiar with the audience members' preferences and personalities. Selecting a topic that is new or unfamiliar to your club members will allow you to practice adapting as you present. As you speak, monitor the audience's reaction to your topic and adapt as necessary to maintain engagement. This speech time will be 5 to 7 minutes, and the title is Reincarnation. Let us welcome our speaker, Anne Burrows, DTM3, with her speech, Reincarnation.
Fellow Toastmasters and welcome guests, reincarnation, the belief that we live lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. In many cultures of the world, people believe in reincarnation, but in our culture, not as much. Only about 20 to 30% of people believe in reincarnation. How many of you accept the idea of reincarnation? I don't see very many hands going. Oh, a couple. All right, great. But are you open to the possibility? Now, I'll be honest. I was introduced to reincarnation probably 50 some years ago. And when I first heard the word, I responded with la, 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 because I was terrified of even saying the word, let alone finding out what it was. But throughout the years, I have heard stories from personal accounts from friends of mine, as well as read books, read articles, and even seen shows on TV around the idea of reincarnation. So today, I'm not here to convince you to believe in reincarnation, but I want to share some stories that might encourage you to think along those lines. I have a friend named Billy. Her very best friend had a son named Robbie. Robbie was only 4 years old. But Billy and Robbie were like good buds, and so she would often take him on outings. And on one of these outings, they happened to be driving across the bridge, and little Robbie from the back seat pointed out to the window and said, "I died over there in that lake." He said, "I was a young boy and it was raining the night before, so the ground was wet, and I was standing on the end and I just slid in the water. And when I went down in the water, my shirt got hooked on a rock and I couldn't pull myself free, so I died there." Now you can imagine my friend hearing a story like that from a 4-year-old. When they got home, Billy, my friend, shared the story that Robbie had mentioned in the car. And Robbie's mom said, "That's really interesting because there was a young boy, teenage boy, that drowned in that river a few years before, and it happened to be the mayor's son." So they decided to go to the library and find out what this article was about. When they did, they read the article, and sure enough, it was a teenage boy who had drowned in that water. And as the report went on, it explained that they had a very difficult time pulling his body out of the water because his shirt was hooked on a rock. Now the story doesn't end there, because eventually they decided to take Robbie to go meet the mayor. And they made an appointment. When they came in the door, Robbie saw the mayor and ran up to her and gave her the biggest hug. And they shared the story that Robbie had mentioned in regard to dying in that river. And the mayor was so relieved, because she always wondered if her son had tried to commit suicide. And now hearing Robbie's story, it gave her great comfort, knowing that it was simply an accident. Pretty compelling story, right? My next story is about a book that I've read called I Have Lived Before, the true story of reincarnation, about Shanti Devi. Shanti Devi was a little girl in the 30s in India. And when she began to talk, she started to say strange things to her parents. She said, "You're not my real parents. I don't really live here. I live somewhere else." Well, you can imagine how the parents felt. But they were very compassionate towards Shanti Devi, and they went along with what she had to say to the best of their ability. But when she went off to school and started sharing her stories with her schoolmates weren't so kind, and they started picking on her and laughing at her, especially when she went on to say that she had been married before and even had a little child. So one day, after they were picking on her unmercifully, she decided to run away from home. She went down a dirt road out of town. Now, fortunately, a townsman saw her and went after her. He started talking to her and listening to her stories. And he knew he was going to be going to that area of town that Shanti Devi mentioned that she used to live in. And so he started taking notes, and he wrote down the name of the man that was supposed to have been her husband and where she lived and so on. And he went to visit that area, and when he came back, he confirmed that all the stories she shared were indeed correct. Even Gandhi heard about this story and encouraged the parents to take Shanti Devi to this area of the country and have her point out some of these locations. So eventually they did, and she would point out the temples, and she would point out different stores and whatnot that she went to. She even pointed down the street of where she lived. And when they pulled up to the house, she said, "That's my house. But my house was yellow." And the house was now white. And the townspeople and her parents said, "But honey, it's the right house." And she said, "No, my house was yellow." When they went in, the new people that owned the house explained that indeed the house was yellow when they moved in, but that they had painted it white. Then they went to visit Shanti's husband from that lifetime. And though the husband promised he would never marry after she passed away, he did get remarried. And Shanti asked his wife, to please bring her jewelry box. When she did, Shanti Devi picked out every single piece of jewelry that belonged to her while she was in that lifetime. Now, is reincarnation true? That's up to you to decide. But for me, I'm certainly leaning in that direction. Madam Toastmaster.